Hi guys, it's Kaitlyn. Welcome back to the channel. I am so excited for today's video. We are going to dive into the systems that have allowed me to free up time in my business so that I can have a little bit more creative energy, a bit more balance back in life, and let's get into it. Do you know that feeling when your business is doing well, but it's running you instead of the other way around? That has been my life for the past 2 years until I changed a couple things in my business that I'm going to reveal to you in this video. I used to think the solution was working harder, batching more content, hiring more help, but what was actually helpful wasn't more effort, it was building systems, and systems that specifically let my marketing run without me having to micromanage it every week. If you've never seen my face before, hi, I'm Kaitlyn. I'm the brand and marketing strategist. I'd love if you go ahead and subscribe because I think you're going to like the content that I continue to put out. Today, I'm walking you through exactly how I systemize marketing in my business and for my clients so that it runs smoothly, predictably, and still feels human. The system I use is what I call the aligned impact model. It's how your business becomes a living system with each part feeding into the next. We'll talk about what actually matters, so the strategy behind your brand, the channels that give you the biggest ROI, and how automation can create freedom in your business. If you've ever felt like your marketing is a hamster wheel you can't get off of, this system is going to help you zoom out, breathe, and build a system that supports the way you work. Let's get into it. This system has 6 pillars in total, and the first pillar is brand intelligence. So brand intelligence, I want you to think of it as the foundation for your brand. This is where everything else that we are going to cover today is going to be built on. So we want to make sure it's really sturdy. With the brand intelligence, you really want to get an intimate knowledge of your business. And the first part of that is to figure out who your audience is, of course. Who are they? What do they care about? How do they see themselves? So we want to know their demographics as well as their psychographics. How do they think about themselves? You'll also want to know your company mission and values. What do you stand for and how does that show up in day-to-day actions? When you are interacting with your audience, and when people approach you, how do people feel before, during, and after interacting with your brand? They ideally should be coming to you one way and leaving change. So that's where we also get into that transformation. And then also your voice and tone. So this is going to be really important, especially if your brand is not exactly you. And what I mean by that is how your brand may write is a little bit different than how you personally may write. So if you are on your personal Instagram, you may make a few references to your personal life. You may tell a little bit more personal stories. You'll probably share some more behind the scenes content. But if you are communicating as the brand, your business, the voice may sound a little different. It may not sound exactly like you, the person, because you may not want it to sound like any one person. You may want it to sound a little bit more corporate. You may want it to use a bit more jargon. So you really want to make sure that you understand the voice and tone and what that looks like when you're writing as the brand and when you're writing as the founder. I've found that some businesses place more emphasis on the visual branding without placing just as much attention on the emotional experience or messaging structure, and that's why their content tends to feel disjointed. So when you have spent the time in your brand intelligence, intimately getting to know your brand and your business, every caption, email, and campaign ladder up to a single story. Our second pillar is going to be brand presence. So making sure that the execution of the brand intelligence pillar is consistent. When I create the brand intelligence document for clients, it's a sexy document. It's like 40 pages. It has so much great information. And when clients print it off and I see it on our video calls, it looks amazing on their desk and on their bookshelf. It really makes everything feel real, except it's not. Everything in the brand intelligence document is hypothetical until you put action behind it. Brand presence is your brand actually showing up, taking action to get to those ideal customers, and doing so in a way that is consistent with the brand intelligence document. If you do have an ad manager, photographer, videographer, social media manager, copywriter on your team, and they're all separate people, I highly recommend sharing this brand intelligence document with everyone so that they can fully understand the brand, and not just as they understand it, but as you, the founder, understand it, and as your customers should understand it. It's the quickest way to immediately get everyone on the same page. So some examples of what that execution can look like, of course, as everyone is in their silos and executing and doing amazing, that in fruition looks like your logo, your fonts, your colors. If you have a personal brand, it can guide the content creation for photo shoots. Another way that I have seen this document used is to guide company culture and hiring decisions. And the idea is that anyone that is going to be communicating to customers on behalf of the company should be equipped successfully with this document. So the idea of a system is that you can pretty much set it and forget it and come back to it when necessary. Of course, it's an ever-evolving thing. It's not written in stone. But the idea is that when you do the brand intelligence, when you do the brand presence, you're not going to have to come back to it in 6 months, 12 months to completely overhaul it. You should be able to set it and, of course, make little tweaks here and there. But for the most part, it does have room for your brand to grow. It should also be sturdy enough that your brand can use it for like the next 1 to 2 years to actually set the foundation, get your initial customers in, have something that you can use to get to those 10K months and then scale up from there. So the third pillar that I want to cover with you guys is finding 2 to 3 high ROI channels. And I define ROI as both money and time. So if the channel isn't giving you energy, leads, results, it's not high ROI. If you've watched my videos before or you've been on a call with me, you know that I see the I in ROI investment as not just money, but also time. I don't like wasting my time. I don't like wasting the time of others, the efforts of others. We want to hit the 2 to 3 channels that will bring in the most impact and be consistent on those. So look at where you're actually getting your clients, not where you want to get them. Where are you actually getting your customers? Spend time there and figure out a way to scale that up. So to help you figure out your high ROI channels, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. First, where are clients actually coming from? Not where you wish they came from. 2, which types of content and platforms play into your strengths? So if you are creating your own content as a founder, do what you enjoy and do what is going to be easiest, because that's what you can actually be consistent with. Is that video? Is that written? Is that audio? Figure that out and then go to the platform that allows for success with that. So for video, that's typically YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels are pretty good about that too. If it's written, you might need to look into Substack and having a blog on your own website. If it's audio, you may want to look into podcasting, and then that can be distributed across many platforms. And the third question that I have for you is, which ones do you think you can sustain long-term without burnout? And this is important because this means that you can actually be consistent with it. And once you know the answer to those questions, double down on that. The fourth pillar that I have, and this one is probably the most freeing for me, is automation. I automate what I can. If I can bulk create and then schedule content, I will. I really feel this is the most important piece because it has freed up so much of my time and bandwidth. This has allowed for me to create for myself, create for my clients, and then set it so that we can start to look forward to the next month or the next quarter. This single-handedly is probably why I can show up on YouTube again. Because I have been able to plan ahead for this. I'm not being reactive, I'm being proactive. This has taken off a lot of my mental load as an agency owner, but also for my clients, because none of us are trying to rush and plan for the next 2 weeks. We're able to zoom out and properly prepare for the next month, the next big launch, the next holiday, the next quarter. And as of right now, it is currently November 2025 for context. If you are watching this in the future, we're also able to plan for the next year. So we're at the end of the year, we're actually able to look ahead. So when you systemize like this, you're able to stop running your business and you can actually start leading it. The first 4 pillars were really about broadcasting. How do we get new clients? How do we get new leads? How do we get people interested in us? How do we put our brand name and face out there? And now I want to answer the question of what happens when we do get the customer, because the last thing you want to do is assume that they're going to keep coming back to you. You don't want to lose a customer. So I like to call this next part internal marketing, and it's really all about customer experience optimization. I do not believe marketing ends when someone buys. So I do my best to impress and nurture that relationship for as long as we work together. So for you, I want you to ask yourself, how can I consistently impress and delight my customers? And then 2, where can I reduce friction or make things easier for them. This is going to be incredibly important, especially if you are in the business of relationships. So if you are a personal brand and you're working with other people directly, you're going to want to make sure that you continue to have that more personable feel in your business even after you get the customer, because a lot of the times the whole reason that they wanted to work with you is because they already felt that relationship with you because you showed up on YouTube, you showed up on IG Reels, TikTok, and they wanted to have more FaceTime with you. Now that we have systemized the outreach and the internal marketing and relationship building of our business, what do we do with all this information? I want you to create an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure document. So I first heard of this in the corporate world, but this is not just for corporate. Even if you're just a one-person team, documenting your repeatable processes prevents you from reinventing the wheel every single time. And they don't really have to be fancy. This could literally just be a Google Doc, but you just want to write it down. How this has been helpful for me is that it's eliminated my decision fatigue because I'm not having to think of something new each time I do a simple, small action. I'm just working within a system, and it's a system I created, so I'm very confident in it. So it's very easy to kind of blindly follow the system that I've already done. It also simplifies delegation when you're ready to start hiring or outsourcing your work. So you're already setting yourself up for success in that way. And once you have written everything down, it helps you understand what's working and what's not working and shows you where you could be creating bottlenecks in your own business. Okay, so unfortunately my camera has decided to overheat, so I will deal with that in 1 second. Luckily, it was at the end of the video and I was just about to close it out. The 6 pillars that I went over: brand intelligence, brand presence, 2 to 3 high ROI channels, automation, customer experience optimization, and having SOPs in your business, is at a high level how I have systemized marketing for my own agency, but also for my clients. And as you can see, each pillar stands on its own, but it also feeds directly into the next piece. When you build from alignment instead of urgency, reactivity, your strategy, your content, your customer experience all flows a bit better together. And that is my goal with systemizing and teaching you to systemize. It is not to remove yourself or automate yourself out of your business. It's to create structure so that your ideas can flow a bit better, so that you can lead your business instead of forcing it along, and it allows everything to run a little bit smoother. If you would like to implement this system for your business, head over to my website, resonatestudio.com. I will link it down below in the description box. I'm so excited to help you have your time, energy, and creative spirit back. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.